Coming up on this edition of Pinpoint Weather University, we're tracking a winter storm for the Carolinas, possibly the worst winter storm we've seen in some years here across the region. Forecasting the winter storm, though, comes in steps. We'll talk about the different steps we're taking as meteorologists to forecast not only this winter storm, but maybe other winter storms in the future. Plus, accurately tracking ice and snow. Your weather models, the default ones, they're misleading you in a dangerous way. We'll talk about why default weather apps are the worst thing to have in your hand when it comes to winter forecasting.
Pinpoint Weather University, sponsored by Gaston Roofing.
Welcome into Pinpoint Weather University. I am meteorologist Brandon Lawson. Man, we've got an active show because we have an active weather pattern here across the Carolinas, including a winter storm that is headed our way. Now, this winter storm is going to be impacting us for the weekend and possibly lingering for a while, not just for the weekend, but sub-freezing temperatures in early next week could also be causing issues. We're recording this on Wednesday, January 21st. And I want to talk to you about not only getting you ready for this storm, but maybe some other winter storms in the future, and also talk to you about why forecasting these storms can be so difficult and the different steps that we do take. So let's get right into it. Here in Charlotte, it's been a while since we've seen some really exciting snow around here. Charlotte, North Carolina, 1,460 days here on January 21st. That is how long it's been since we've seen 1 inch or more of snowfall. How does that translate into years? Roughly 4 years since we've seen an inch or more of snow. We are due for a significant snow event. However, unfortunately, this winter weather event is likely going to be more of a sleet and ice issue for us. And that is going to lead to greater impacts for the region because ice makes everything messy. That includes the roads, that includes power lines, tree limbs, power outage concerns. So that's why this event is looking like it's not going to be as fun for the area. So let's talk about winter weather forecasting. We use this as meteorologists, a step-by-step process to not only give you the winter storm forecast, but give it to you in an accurate way to where we aren't changing things drastically from 7 days out of a storm to 5 days out from a storm to 3 days out from a storm. We want to take it step by step, give you the information you need, but also make sure that we're doing it in a way that it's not dramatically changing the forecast. So 7 to 10 days out, that's all about pattern recognition. We're trying to figure out, is the cold air in place? If the cold air is in place here in the Carolinas, that's good news, but you also got to make sure that we have the moisture. So that's all about recognizing the pattern. Usually about a week out, we're just making sure that we have enough cold air in place for winter weather. 5 to 7 days out, we're watching the trends. The cold air is here, but is the moisture increasing for our area? Is the moisture decreasing? Is the storm looking more likely or less likely? That's a 5 to 7 day out of the storm period that we're looking at that stuff. 3 to 5 days out, let's say the storm is looking more likely. Now we're trying to figure out what type of storm we're going to see. Is it going to be more snow? Is it going to be more ice? Is it going to be sleet? Is it going to be just all rain? That's something else we always have to track here in the Carolinas when it comes down to cold wedges and the different patterns that we could see here. And 3 to 5 days out, that is why we are going to be talking about the type of storm, because we're getting a little bit closer and we're also getting a better idea of precipitation types. Plus, 1 to 3 days out, that's when we're detailing the forecast. That's when you're hearing we're going to see X amount of snow. We're going to see X amount of ice. This is exactly when this transition from snow to ice is going to happen. This is exactly when the weather event's going to begin. So that is when we get a better idea of the exact forecast itself. Usually a day or two out, we're getting really, really good and more accurate information for you. So let's talk about how this step-by-step process is working with this forecast in general. Again, this is Wednesday, January 21st. We're still about 3 days out from the storm. We're getting closer to the details on this thing, but we're still more in that timing and type of storm phase. So this storm, although it's this weekend, it's actually shaping up already on Wednesday, about 4 days ahead of the storm. So right now, things are clear across the Carolinas here, at least on Wednesday, January 1st. We've got two fronts back to the west, though. That is going to help bring in Arctic air. one front moving through Thursday, another one moving through later in the week for Friday. That sets the stage for the colder air to funnel into the region as we head into the weekend. And boy, is there a lot of cold air. Look up towards Minneapolis, 19 degrees there, 28 degrees in Chicago. It's been a very cold pattern here across the Carolinas recently. We've had some bitter cold starts to the morning, and that cold air is just going to get even colder as Arctic air plunges into the Carolinas as we go through the course of the rest of this week. Arctic air on the way. This is what it looks like. Look at that purple shade there. That is very, very, very cold air upstairs. And notice it is headed all the way down, not only into the Carolinas, but down towards the deep south, parts of the southeast. This is going to be an Arctic blast that sticks around for quite some time. And guess what? What happens when you have Arctic air mixing with moisture? You get winter weather, and there's our moisture moving into the west coast, and that is going to be creating our winter storm here in the Carolinas. So that's how you look at this thing. That's how we look at what is going to be happening and how the forecast works when it comes down to looking at winter weather. It's not just you look at a weather model or you look at a default weather app and it's going to give you exactly what's going to happen, because unfortunately you get expectations versus reality. This is what we want. This is what we've seen before. This is what we want to happen across our area. But unfortunately, this one's looking more like an icy mess. I want to kind of give you an idea of just exactly what that looks like, just from my point of view. So again, I grew up here in the Carolinas. I love it. I love it here. Left it a little bit, and I got a little bit of a taste of snow up in West Virginia. It was a good time to have that. It was fun because I didn't get snow events very often in the winter when I was down in the Carolinas growing up. We had our snow events. I remember the big one in 2014 when I was in high school. Took me out of school for a while, for about a week, I think. We had some other good ones when I was a little kid. I loved it, loved it, loved it. Loved snow. But I didn't feel like I got enough of it growing up. So moved to West Virginia, got some snow up there, and I got to see this a little bit more. However, what happens here in the Carolinas is this right here. Expectation versus reality. What we wanted versus what we got. So what we wanted, that's me on the left. Man, I can't really remember when this picture was taken. I really don't even remember how old I am in this picture. But that's me. And I didn't even have gloves. I just pulled out some socks out of the dresser, just threw them in my hands, and just picked up this glob of snow and took the picture. But what we wanted is that, right? We want to have that kid enjoying the snow. We want to be able to blow the snow around, have fun with it. But the right depicts what we oftentimes get here in the Carolinas, and that's freezing rain or sleet. So pretty much an icy mess versus the actual snowfall. So that's why I always want you to not just look at the forecast and see a copious amount of snow for your area or biblical snowfall amounts and be like, yes, that's what's happening. Just bear with us through the winter weather forecasting steps that we just showed you. These steps here allow us to go through these steps, allow us to get that 7 to 10 day out, recognizing the pattern. 3 to 5 days out, we're looking at timing. About 3 days out, 2 days out, though, that's when we start giving you more of the numbers on how much snow we could see and when and exactly what the storm could do for the area. And that's again when we get a little bit more detail with the forecast, a couple days out from the event. So always pay attention to those steps and don't just rely on your default weather apps. We're going to talk about on the other side of the break why default weather apps are misleading you big time. Details on that coming up next here on Pinpoint Weather University. Welcome back into Pinpoint Weather University here on Queen City News Plus. I'm meteorologist Brandon Lawson. So in this next segment, I don't mean to call out my family and friends, but I've had about 20 or 30 people text me just this week. And usually the question will be, Brandon, are we really going to see 10 inches of snow? Are we really going to see 2 feet of snow? Or there'll be a question like, Brandon, these apps are really kind of going crazy with the snow totals here. What is this? What is this? Is this going to happen? That's what I've been getting a lot of. And also a lot of my Facebook friends as well have been giving me that message, excuse me, of just what is going to be happening. I've had people posting on my Facebook wall like, Brandon, 20 inches, what is this? So first thing I want you to do, I want you to just watching the podcast here. Maybe you're watching it on your phone. I don't want you to turn off the podcast if you're watching it on your phone on YouTube. But if you're watching Queen City News Plus with the Roku, get your phone out. Go to your weather app, your default weather app, the one that's just installed on your phone automatically. Delete it. Take the widget away. Throw it in the trash. Get rid of it. Throw it out. I would throw this phone out, but it's already got cracks on it, and I don't want to hurt it anymore. But throw those default weather apps out the window. They got to go. Get rid of them. They are not going to be good for you in the long term. It's going to really upset you. It's going to disappoint you because you're not getting what the weather app's been telling you. You've got to get better apps, and that includes the Pinpoint weather app. It's free. It's a QC. If you look up QC News Pinpoint weather app on the Google Play Store or App Store, it'll pop up. We update it. It's accurately updated. So not to tell you a forecast is always 100% correct, but it's going to give you more accurate and defined information. Plus, you can get our latest forecasts on there and latest blogs on there describing the event that you're tracking. So let's talk about the pros of these default weather apps. This is why people love these apps. It is convenient, right? You can go into your pocket. You've got easy access to the weather forecast. It's quick. Most of your default weather apps deliver you severe weather alerts, which you really don't need anyway, because if it's like tornado warnings or very significant severe thunderstorm warnings, flash flood warnings, most of those through the WEA system, the Warning Emergency Alert System in your phone, are going to trigger automatically and send you that alert. So most of the default weather apps, you don't really need that for those alerts anyway, because you're going to get it. Frequent updates and comprehensive data is another reason why people love these apps, because you can get the hour-by-hour forecast on there. It lets you know when the sun sets. It lets you know when it's going to rain. It tries to pinpoint exactly what it's going to do 20 days out sometimes from here. And I'm just going to let you know that's a forecast that in the Pinpoint Weather Center, we're not even trying to pinpoint 20 days out because it's difficult. Now, we might be able to recognize the pattern 20 days from now, more of a warmer or colder pattern, wetter or drier pattern. But I can't tell you if it's going to rain at 2 o'clock in 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now. That's crazy. So the pros of the apps, again, it's convenient, it's quick, easy access, and it's comprehensive. You're getting that hour-by-hour data, which you can get on reputable weather apps like ours, the Pinpoint Weather app as well, and we update it for you. Now, the cons to this app, and I will say the cons outweigh the pros significantly on this. The cons to the default weather apps is that they are putting out raw model outputs. That means they essentially look at the American model or the European model, one or the other. That's another bad thing about them. Some weather apps are using the GFS, some are using the Euro. There's so many different weather models that are being used from these apps. It just leads to so many different forecasts. This also leads to dramatic changes in data every 6 or 12 hours. So let's say the American model runs at 9 o'clock in the morning. It doesn't. It runs right around 7 or 8. But let's say it runs at 9. You're going into work and you look at your weather app after the model runs, and the model says there's going to be 18 inches of snow for your location. Whether that's Charlotte, the mountains, wherever you might be, it's saying 18 inches of snow for your location. Now, that's what the raw model output is sending to your default weather app, 18 inches of snow. However, there's no human interpretation with it. So let's say a model puts out 18 inches of snow, but there's also freezing rain and sleet mixing in with that snow. It's going to cut the snowfall totals in half already just from freezing rain and sleet mixing in with the snow, but the model's not doing a good job of interpreting that information. So it's just going to say there's going to be 18 inches or more of snowfall versus telling you, hey, that 18 inches might be more so like 9. And you've got ice included too, that sometimes the default weather apps don't even tell you. So that's a big reason why you got to turn to Pinpoint Weather, ditch the default weather apps, and download our Pinpoint Weather app. I'm not here to advertise it like, oh man, it's going to save your life, but it does follow you to different locations. You can put 16 different locations on that app. And also, here, I'll go ahead and pull up the graphic for you. Also, it's going to give you active alerts wherever you are, regardless of if you are 20 miles from home or 300 miles from home. It'll let you know what the weather is happening where you are. So let's say you live in Charlotte, you travel to Florida for a week. It's going to tell you the weather down in Florida. It's going to send you the weather alerts down there where you are in Florida. It's a great app. It's a great tool to have. And you can get auto updates for whenever the app is updating or there's new designs with it. And this is a relatively newer app too. It's a great tool to have. And again, I don't say that just because I work here. I use that myself when I'm in a pinch, and it really does help. And I've gotten a lot of good alerts too. It tells you when lightning is within 8 to 10 mile radius, which is what a lot of folks use to determine when to delay a sporting event. So it's just a good thing to have. And again, it's not going to just give you random snowfall and ice totals a week out from an event. So again, ditch the default weather apps and turn to Pinpoint Weather here, and we'll continue to update you on the forecast when it comes down to that. And again, this is something that you really should be doing with not just winter weather events, but even when it comes to severe weather or flooding threats. These apps also can lead to significantly higher totals or significantly higher threats than what is actually going to happen. So just be careful with those apps. And again, Pinpoint Weather app can help you out with that. Coming up in just a bit, though, we've got a big winter storm coming up for the weekend. I'll talk about the tricky things about the forecast and the reason why we're getting a little bit more aligned on what might be happening here across the area. The tricky part of the forecast coming up next. Welcome back into Pinpoint Weather University. So when a winter storm is headed your way, what can you do? What can you do? So first off, we already talked about deleting the default weather apps. I talked enough about that. Let's skip over that one. Let's talk about what you also could do. Head to the store early. Don't wait. Whenever there's a threat of winter weather, the stores get slammed. I used to work at a couple food lines here when I was coming up through high school. And I've got friends that still work there, old managers that still work there, and they were telling me about 5 days before the winter storm event, we've already got the store bombarded with people shopping. We're talking about shelves already being cleared out in some stores. So again, you want to head to the store early, stock up when you can, but you definitely don't want to wait until a day or two before the storm, because that's when supplies might be lacking. Or you have to deal with the crowd, a very similar crowd to what it might look like the day before Thanksgiving. And that is a crowd I don't even like punching my way through. So let's not get yourself in that. Plus, you want to winterize your house and your vehicle. Vehicle's easy. New tires if you need them. Fill up. Make sure that you've got the de-icer windshield wiper fluid. That de-icer windshield wiper fluid is very important, something that you definitely want to have. Get the good stuff, not just kind of the simple solution that you can get with the windshield wiper fluid. And then your house. How do you winterize your house? Well, first off, you want to disconnect the hose from outside, turn off that water because you don't want that hose to get stuck. I also don't want to have to be fighting ice when it comes down to that later, ice jams or anything like that in your hoses. You also want to make sure that you're clearing out your gutters. You don't want ice jams in your gutters, so you don't want the ice to get kind of stuck in there because the water can't flow through because there's so much leaf debris from when the leaves were falling during the fall. So make sure you get those cleared out too. You also want to make sure your roof's okay. I know it's kind of hard in a pinch, like for a week, but if you can get up there, have a way of checking it, make sure everything's good there, because sleet and ice can weigh on the roof very heavily. Just want to make sure that's going to be okay as well. Also, check emergency kits, whether it's in your car or it's in your house. You should always have an emergency kit for all situations, whether it's severe weather, winter weather, or even earthquakes, things like that. You know, we don't see earthquakes very often, knock on wood, but something you want to think about. You always want to have an emergency kit for all situations, Again, whether it's in your house or in your car, you want to stock that up with fresh batteries. You want to make sure that's stocked up with maybe some non-perishable goods, and make sure you're just refilling that, because, often those non-perishable goods can go out of date. So I want to make sure that you're restocking those as well. So I want to show you the different possible tracks that we're tracking for Saturday and the Sunday. So why is this forecast so difficult? Well, we're going to have warm air intruding things at the mid-levels, but cold air down low. So we've shown you this before when it comes down to different types of wintry precipitation. I'm going to go ahead and pull this graphic up right here. Matter of fact, let's use this one. I actually got it right here. This is different precipitation types. So in an all-rain event, essentially snow falls from the upper levels into temperatures that are above freezing, and it stays above freezing all the way to the ground. That's rain. But freezing rain happens whenever you get snow that melts through a very warm layer of air, and then it freezes on contact at the surface with whatever it comes in contact with. We call these super cold water droplets that just freeze on contact with everything they touch. And that's freezing rain. That's how you get your really icy conditions. Sleet is when you have snow falling through a very thin warm layer, and then it has a lot more time to refreeze. These become more pellets that are hitting the ground. So freezing rain clings and sleet pings. So you get the little pinging sound versus the clinging that happens with freezing rain. And then when you get an all snow event, that just means that the column of air from the upper levels to the surface is all below freezing. So that's your different precipitation types. So what ends up happening in the setup is that the area of low pressure, if it tracks further west, we end up getting more warmer air intruding the mid levels. And however, if the area of low pressure is further east, you still get warm air towards the surface when the area of low pressure is hugging the coast. You still get warm air in the mid levels and close to the surface, but down low, right here at the ground, you have freezing air, and that's why you get those super cold water droplets and that icy mix, mainly leading to freezing rain or maybe even sleet. However, if the area of low pressure tracks so far east offshore, it can't send that warm air from the south into the mid levels. It's too far east, so the cold air really gets trapped not only at the surface, but up in the mid and upper levels as well, and that gives you your all snow event. And unfortunately, that just does not happen very often here across the Carolinas. So this is what the latest trends have been with this storm. Essentially, you're getting more of an icy mix for a lot of areas, including Charlotte, Rock Hill, Rockingham, maybe even Hickory up towards I-40, and even towards Columbia, even at Athens, as you're getting down towards Augusta, Columbia. These spots here, these are areas that definitely don't want to see ice, and that's definitely a possibility, and some snow as well. And then as you're getting further north towards the mountains and foothills, not saying you won't see ice at all there, probably going to be mostly snow just because that column of air is much colder there. You're not getting that cold air. Again, the cold air runs into the mountains and it sinks down towards the Piedmont and the foothills. So the cold air sometimes doesn't get trapped up there towards the mountains, and that's why they can kind of have a colder column of air. So that is going to do it for this edition of Pinpoint Weather University. I will say this before we go. This will be a significant event. This will be, a weekend storm that we're going to remember. And you just want to make sure that you're not only stocking up, but also making sure you're taking care of one. Text your family, check on that neighbor that may be by themselves, maybe an elderly neighbor that might need a little bit more care. Check on them, make sure they're okay, make sure they have everything they need during the storm. This is the part where we all come together, Carolinas. We come together, make sure everybody's okay. I always say it at the end of the show, take care of yourself and each other as we navigate this earth together, because we're always doing everything together, regardless if we like it or not. We go through everything together, especially here in the Carolinas. Helene was significant. We all helped each other out, not just helping the Western North Carolina region, but making sure that our friends in maybe parts of Georgia and South Carolina were okay. Florida. Again, this is a nation that always comes together during catastrophes. So just make sure we're taking care of ourselves and making sure you're taking care of each other as well. And then one more thing to remember too, sub-freezing temperatures right after this event might delay recovery, might delay melting. Just be patient and continue to take care of yourself and each other after the event is over as well. I'm meteorologist Bray Lawson here on Queen City News Plus. Y'all be safe, guys.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.